When I became whoever I am now, people always said, you know what? With success, you're gonna have these issues. And I just don't buy into all that shit. You know, everybody thinks you gotta settle when you become successful, and it's just people are gonna take your book and they're gonna bootleg your book, and it's just great signs of success. Well, you can sit there like most people do and just sit there and take that shit. Or you can go ahead and believe that, you know what, I don't give a fuck how successful I am. I'm gonna hold your ass accountable for what the fuck you're doing. And that's just how it goes for me, man. So I just hold people accountable. No matter how successful you are, you must hold people to the fucking standard.
I want to talk a little bit about the most recent book, Never Finished. And I heard things even in the process of writing my second book. Everyone would tell me that the first one's always better, the second one's not as good. And with a book like Can't Hurt Me, that was probably one of the greatest books of all time. Even with that in the back of your mind, thinking, how do you top the second one? Now, personally, I believe you topped it. The second book is better than the first. The first one's phenomenal. But why even write a second book?
Well, the thing about it is, like, you know, Can't Hurt Me was, I call it your bachelor's degree. It was the very basic nuts and bolts about how to get the fuck up and stop feeling sorry for yourself. And the funny thing about it is that most people who hear me, they hear me cuss all the time. They hear me cuss, they hear me going off, carry the boats, carry the logs, all this shit. They hear all this hoopla, but they don't understand, man. There's a very, very, very philosophical side of David Goggins. And that's the side that book right there, Never Finished, gives them, is that that's the real me. Like what they see me in a 1 minute video when I'm fucking hyped up. And the whole idea about that 1 minute video is that I'm trying to get you the fuck off the couch. And I don't have 10 to 20 minutes to give you some great philosophy about why we need to get off the couch. I just need to spark your ass off that fucking couch. But when I write these books, I'm able to go deeper. I'm able to grab your attention, hold it, make you sit there and simmer on some of these thoughts. So my whole life is not some big hoopla pep rally. My whole life is about going into the dungeon and going into that fucking area where I can go through all this shit and become a philosopher. I really am a philosopher, man. A philosopher about the mind, about how far we can go. And the first book didn't do that. And I did it on purpose because no one knew who the fuck David Goggins was. So I'm not gonna give you Never Finished first because I haven't really gone out here and told you who David Goggins is. So now they knew who I was, and now I can bring it to the next level. And what's funny about that, my friend, the third book that no one's even heard about, that's almost done, it puts that book to shame.
Right out of the gate, you Never Finished, you talk about the fact this is not a self-help book. You said it's really kind of a boot camp for your brain, and you talk about the difference between hope and belief. How do you differentiate the two?
So basically, as you know from the book, hope is bullshit. When I was going through SEAL training, a lot of people hoped that they would pull us from that cold water. Man, hope ain't gonna get you shit because it's not in your hands. Hope is not in your hands. You can't control hope, man. You can't. It's just hopefully this thing happens. But when you get belief, when you start to create belief, and belief isn't like an after school special. Most people think, oh man, like your mom and dad, you know, you need to believe in yourself. You know, Sesame Street, when I was growing up and shit, you know, you need to believe in yourself. That's not the belief I'm fucking talking about. It's the belief that you harness through hard work and dedication. And it's something that you know what you are capable of because you've gone there several times in those dark times. So my belief, why I kept on going back to Navy SEAL training and going back to all these different things, not because I hoped training would get easier. It's because I believed I could fucking make it. Through the training I put myself through, I just wasn't doing and executing as I should. And I knew that. It was all on me. So then when I put that belief into work and that hard work came to fruition, everything happened for me.
And for the few people, let's say, that may not know of David Goggins yet, you describe your upbringing as having front row seats to a horror movie. If you could briefly give the people listening some context on that.
So what I was talking about with that one was my mom. And Can't Hurt Me, my mom was like, you're not gonna put some of my life in this. But over a period of time, like, Mom, this just wasn't your fucking life. I was a young kid watching you go through this shit. I was living it with you. And I didn't have the brain to absorb the adult life that you put my childlike brain in. So I lived it even more than you lived it. So I had to get my mom to a point where she'd even let me go here. So what I mean by that is I watched my mom, and I was able to put all of my horror to the side, because when you're watching your mom go through horrific things, and I was never sheltered. It wasn't like my mom kept me from, like, my soon-to-be stepdad got murdered. It wasn't like she said, oh, we gotta keep this from David. People tried to kill him several times before they finally killed him. And we continued going to this man's house. They tried to kill him in the garage that they finally shot him and killed him in. We were still going to the house where this man, they attempted to kill him, and we were going there almost every weekend. My mom just didn't give a fuck, and watching her get beat by my father, and then slowly watching her evolve into this woman who marries a guy that literally choked a woman to death and was in prison. And I'm watching all this shit unfold, and it was like watching a horror flick, and I was front row. Shit, I was part of the fucking director's crew. I mean, that's how close I was to the whole thing, man. It was crazy.
You state that when you're living in hell, the only way to find your way out is to confront the devil himself. Who was that devil for you?
It took several years for me to figure out who the devil was, and the devil was my father. The devil was my father, but what I didn't put and never finished was the devil really was me. So what happened was I put all this blame, and trust me, my father and a lot of people had to do with my upbringing on how shitty it was. But like I put in that book, no one's gonna come back and say, hey man, I apologize. Maybe someone does. Very few people will. So at the end of the fucking day, when all things are said and done with, while my dad was the devil, and I believed that for a long fucking time, I had to confront him. And when I confronted the devil, so what I thought was the devil, I realized that I was the true devil. I was the one holding me back. I was the one looking for the scapegoat. And I was the one looking for all these ways to say, it's okay, David. You're a loser, you're a born loser, so it's okay. And I was hoping my dad was gonna give me that confirmation. And he was a loser himself, but at the end of the day, when I left there, I realized, well, shit, man, this is on me. My dad's fucked up, my mom's fucked up, the people around me are fucked up. They're not gonna save you. You gotta fucking save yourself, my friend. So that's when all that reality hit me when I went to Buffalo to see my dad on that drive home. I was like, man, this rest of your life is gonna suck. It is gonna suck, not because you're gonna be a loser, but because you're gonna fucking finally start to win. And winning is not easy, my friend.